Let me ask you a question. How many times have you gone online looking for the perfect F1 setup? You searched YouTube, you download someone's setup, you load into the game, and then within three corners you realize this feels absolutely terrible. The setup might be fast, and the creator might be 2 seconds a lap faster than you, but the reality is simple. The best setup for someone else isn't necessarily the best setup for you. So today I want to show you something that's completely changed how I have approached sim racing setups. And that's I've started using ChatGPT as my virtual race engineer. And not because it knows the perfect setup, and not because AI is magical, but because it can help diagnose problems, explain setup changes, and teach you why your car behaves the way it does. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use ChatGPT to build better setups, learn faster, and maybe even gain some lap time along the way. So let's get into it. I think most sim racers approach setups backwards. We often ask, what's the fastest setup? Well, that's actually the wrong question. Real race engineers don't chase setups, they solve problems. Imagine a Formula One driver who comes into the pits and says, the car is slow. Well, that's useless information, right? The engineer can't do anything with that. Instead, drivers say things like, the car understeers in medium speed corners, rear traction is poor, front tires are overheating, the rear feels unstable under braking. Now, those are symptoms, and symptoms lead to solutions. The biggest mistake many sim racers make is copying setups without understanding why the setup actually works. And when conditions change, when the wear changes, when weather changes, when the physics model updates, they're completely lost. The goal shouldn't be finding a setup, it should be understanding the car. And that's where ChatGPT becomes incredibly useful. So let's be clear about something. ChatGPT is not going to magically create the perfect setup for you, and it doesn't know exactly how your car feels, and it doesn't know your driving style. It doesn't even know if you're braking too late. It doesn't know if you're over driving corner entry or anything else for that matter. But what it can do is help connect symptoms to possible causes. So think of it like having the engineer sitting next to you asking the right questions. For example, you can tell ChatGPT, I'm losing the rear while trail braking. Now it can start exploring brake bias, rear ride height, rear wing, rear suspension, driving inputs. Instead of guessing randomly, you're starting to build a logical process. And that's exactly what setup work should be. The first thing I do is establish a baseline, and this is incredibly important. Don't start changing everything immediately. Take a default setup, or use a setup from a trusted creator, and then drive. And I mean really drive. Run 5 laps, run 10 laps, maybe even a full race stint. Learn the car and take notes. And ask yourself, where is the car strong? Where is it weak? Is it unstable under braking? Does it rotate well? Does it struggle in slow corners? Or does it struggle in high speed corners? Is tire wear becoming an issue? Before ChatGPT can help, you need data, and good inputs produce good outputs, and garbage inputs produce garbage outputs. Most people type, what's the best setup for Austria? Instead, try something like this. I'm driving Austria in F126. My lap time is a minute 4.7. The car feels stable in turns 1 and 3. I'm struggling with understeer in turns 6 and 7. The rear becomes unstable while trail braking into turn 4. Rear tire temperatures are about 5 degrees hotter than the fronts. What setup changes would you recommend? And now we're talking. Look how much useful information is available to ChatGPT. Track, lap time, corner-specific feedback, temperature data, vehicle behavior. This allows ChatGPT to behave much more like a race engineer. Let's talk about understeer. Every sim racer has experienced it. You turn the wheel, the front refuses to rotate. The car just pushes wide. ChatGPT might suggest increasing front wing, softening front anti-roll bars, reducing rear wing, lowering front tire pressure, differential adjustments. But here's the important part, and ask why. Always ask why. Don't just accept the recommendations. Ask, why would increasing front wing help? The explanation is where the real learning happens. And over time, you'll start recognizing the patterns and you'll be able to set up the car on your own. You'll begin diagnosing the problems yourself. And that's when setup work becomes much easier. Now let's talk about the opposite problem, oversteer. The rear rotates too aggressively and sometimes it feels exciting. Most of the time it feels terrifying, especially during a race stint. And ChatGPT can help determine whether the issue occurs from corner entry or mid-corner or corner exit. Each phase often points toward different causes. Entry oversteer, maybe brake bias, maybe rear stability, maybe weight transfer. Exit oversteer, maybe differential, maybe throttle application, maybe rear suspension. Being specific here matters. One of the most common complaints in F126 has been traction. You're leaving a corner and you get on the throttle and the rear tires just light up. You lose momentum all the way down the next straight, and this is where ChatGPT becomes incredibly useful. And you can ask, I have good rotation but poor traction. How do I improve traction without creating excessive understeer? And that's a much better question. Now you're discussing trade-offs. Every setup change is a compromise. The fastest setup isn't the one that's best at everything. The fastest setup is usually the one with the fewest weaknesses. Here's the biggest mistakes I see. Making 10 setup changes at once. You change wing, differential, suspension, ride height, tire pressure, and then you go back on the track and the car feels different, but you have absolutely no idea why. So make one change, maybe two, and that's it. Run 3 laps and evaluate. Take some notes and then ask ChatGPT again. Setup work should look like a science experiment. Small adjustments, measured results. Continuous learning. One thing I've discovered is that ChatGPT often teaches more effectively than setup guides. Most setup guides will tell you, use these numbers. ChatGPT can actually explain why lower tire pressure increases your grip, why a stiffer anti-roll bar affects your rotation, why rear wing improves stability, and why ride height impacts aerodynamic performance. The more you understand those relationships, the more independent you become. Eventually, you'll need setup guides less and less. So, can ChatGPT build the perfect setup? No. And honestly, that's not the point. The real value isn't the setup. The real value is the learning. It's helping you understand why the car behaves the way it does. It's helping you think like a race engineer. And it's helping you develop a repeatable process instead of relying on guesswork. The fastest drivers aren't always the ones with the fastest setup. They're the drivers who understand their car the best. And if ChatGPT can help you understand your car better, then it's one of the most powerful tools available to a sim racer today. So here's my challenge. The next time you're struggling with a setup, don't search for the fastest setup online. Just open ChatGPT and describe the problem and ask questions and try to learn something. And let me know in the comments what track you're working on and whether ChatGPT has helped you find speed. And I'll be sure to see you on the track.